What if the reward you earned with everything you had was stolen right before your eyes? What if someone, smiling in a suit, casually erased your name from your own victory and expected you to thank them for it? Would you walk away? Or would you wait quietly until they handed you exactly the weapon you needed to destroy them? Be careful who you underestimate. The perfect heist doesn't always involve money. Sometimes it starts with a stolen seat and ends with a corporate throne. Keep reading. The takedown is just getting started. Ivy Quinn hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night in nearly 3 months. The final pitch deck had taken her 46 hours, 6 coffee-fueled rewrites, and 1 quiet breakdown in the office bathroom at 2 a.m. But now it was done. The campaign was a success. The client, one of the top 5 global tech firms, had signed a 3-year retainer with Horizon Strategies. And Ivy had delivered every piece of that strategy, flawless, innovative, ahead of schedule. That morning, she walked into the office a little straighter. Not proud. Just steady. She didn't need a parade. Just a moment to exhale. Her inbox chimed. Subject: a small thank you. From Martin Langston, client CEO. Ivy, you went above and beyond, and I noticed. Consider these a personal thank you. Enjoy the game, you earned it. Attached, 2 Super Bowl tickets. Front row. 40-yard line. Face value: a small fortune. Ivy blinked, her mouth parting just slightly. For a second, she didn't breathe. Then came the rush, joy, disbelief, something close to pride. She clasped a hand over her mouth, laughing softly. This was hers. An hour later, she was still glowing, printing the tickets, rereading the email, when the door to her office creaked open. No knock. Just a slow, self-satisfied entrance. Nathan Sterling. Senior Director. 31, tailored suit, designer watch, smile like a knife dipped in honey. He leaned casually against her desk, arms folded. Heard you got a special little gift, he said, eyes scanning the tickets in her hand. Ivy smiled cautiously. Yeah. From Martin. He sent them personally. Pretty generous, right? Nathan nodded, slow and calculating. Very. Then his smile sharpened. Unfortunately, there's been a bit of a misunderstanding. That gift isn't actually for you. Ivy froze. Excuse me. Nathan stepped closer, voice smooth. Technically, any client gifts over $200 belong to the company. It's policy. And these tickets. He plucked one from her desk. These are company property. She stared at him, stunned. But Martin said, he said it was a personal thank you. It's in the email. Sure, Nathan said with a shrug. But perception matters. I'll be using them to take a potential investor. You understand, right? Her chest tightened. You can't be serious. He leaned in, lowering his voice. You should be grateful, Ivy. You have a job. That's your reward. A long pause. And then, Ivy smiled. Small. Measured. Dangerous. Is that so? Nathan didn't notice the shift in her eyes. He turned, smug. Enjoy your weekend, he said, and walked out, tickets in hand. What he didn't see was that Ivy had already forwarded the email to her private inbox. And Martin Langston always followed through. Ivy spent the whole morning rehearsing how she'd say thank you. Not the fake kind. The real kind. The kind you give when someone sees your work, your sweat, your worth. She even wore a new blazer. The tickets were supposed to arrive by noon. She checked the mailroom twice. Her phone buzzed every time a notification came in. Her heart skipped with each sound. At 12:07, she heard footsteps. She turned, expecting the intern. Maybe the receptionist. But it was him. Nathan Sterling walked into her office like he owned the oxygen in the room. No knock. No greeting. Just that signature smirk, the kind that said, "I already know how this ends." He leaned one hand on her desk, his Rolex catching the light. "Heard you got a special delivery today." Ivy smiled politely. "Yes. From Martin Langston. Pretty incredible, right?" Nathan nodded, too slowly. "Very. Front row, Super Bowl. That's not small-time stuff." Then, without skipping a beat, he dropped the bomb. "Just one problem. Those tickets aren't for you." Ivy froze. "What?" Nathan tilted his head, mock sympathy dripping from his voice. "Technically, client gifts go through corporate. Especially when they're over $200. Policy." She blinked. "But Martin's email said it was a personal thank you." "I have it right." "Doesn't matter." His tone sharpened. "Perception is everything. And right now, the best move is for me to use those tickets to take a high-value contact. Someone who could bring real money into Horizon." He plucked the envelope off her desk like it had always been his. "You should be grateful, Ivy." He gave her that slow, superior grin. "You still have a job. That's the real reward." Silence. A long, brutal silence. Ivy stared at him. Her stomach twisted. Her hands trembled beneath the desk. But her face didn't move. She smiled. Not the kind that said okay. The kind that said checkmate. "Well then," she said softly. "Enjoy the game." Nathan grinned wider, already halfway out the door. He didn't notice the way Ivy's fingers slipped back to her keyboard. Didn't hear the click as she forwarded Martin's email to her personal account. Didn't see the way her eyes followed him, not with anger. With calculation. Because he thought he'd won. But all he'd done was hand Ivy the rope he'd soon hang himself with. Ivy waited exactly 37 minutes after Nathan left. Not too soon. Not too eager. Just long enough to seem calm. Then, she opened a new message window. To Martin Langston. Subject, thank you. Hi Martin. Thank you again for thinking of me with the Super Bowl tickets, it meant a lot. I just wanted to let you know that they've apparently been reassigned to someone else at Horizon. Not a big deal on my end, but I still wanted to express how grateful I am for the gesture. All the best. Ivy. She reread it twice. No accusation. No tone. Just a carefully placed match. Waiting to be lit. The reply came less than 5 minutes later. What? Who took them? Ivy smiled faintly. Then replied, still perfectly composed. I'm not sure. All I know is, they didn't make it to my desk. I'm assuming there was some kind of internal redirection. Please don't worry about it. I just wanted to thank you either way. Ivy. Seconds passed. Then came the final reply. Let me handle this. Don't say a word to anyone. She leaned back in her chair. Step 1, complete. She had just turned a personal slight into a corporate crisis. The next day, Ivy played it cool. Same morning coffee. Same polite nods in the hallway. Same lunch break at 1 p.m. sharp. But this time, she took the longer hallway, the one that passed the second floor break room, where Nathan always held his power chats like they were locker room pep talks. She paused just outside the door. Inside, his voice rang out, a little too loud, a little too cocky. Front row, 40-yard line, baby. Nathan's laugh was smug, unmistakable. I'm taking my brother-in-law. Guy works in venture capital, total whale. It's the kind of connection we need if we're serious about growing Horizon. Ivy's eyes narrowed. Whale, huh? She knew his VIP guest well enough, Brian Sterling, the same guy who once pitched a crypto startup at Thanksgiving and asked Ivy if she was the caterer. So that was the plan. Nathan had lied to her. And to the company. And now he was using her reward to take his brother-in-law on a joyride, under the guise of strategic development. She slipped away before the laughter faded, her mind already working. This wasn't just petty anymore. This was ethics. This was fraud. And soon, it was going to be evidence. Nathan Sterling walked into the office Monday morning with the swagger of a man who thought he'd won. Tan slightly darker. Smile wider. He tossed his coat onto the back of his chair like a king returning from a well-earned crusade. Hell of a game, he said to no one in particular, sipping his $8 coffee. Hell of a weekend. Down the hall, Ivy was already in her seat, reviewing notes, quietly, methodically, as if it were any other Monday. At 9:30 sharp, an email hit every inbox on the executive floor. Subject, urgent, client relations review. Attendees: Ivy Quinn, Nathan Sterling, Martin Langston, Vanessa Hayes VP, Corporate Partnerships. Nathan's brow furrowed. A meeting. With Martin. And Vanessa. He adjusted his tie. The conference room was cold. Deliberate. Vanessa sat at the head of the table, tablet in hand. Martin Langston, stoic, sharp-eyed, unreadable, sat beside her. Ivy took her place quietly. Nathan strolled in, still casual. Morning. Didn't realize this was so formal. No one smiled. Martin cleared his throat, voice clipped. Let's get to it. He turned to Ivy, tone deceptively calm. Ivy. How was the game? She blinked. Paused. Then tilted her head slightly. The game? Martin's jaw tightened. The Super Bowl. The tickets I sent you personally. The room stilled. Nathan shifted. A sheen of sweat appeared along his hairline. Wait, Vanessa said slowly. You sent the tickets. To Ivy? Martin nodded. With a note. A very specific note. All eyes turned to Nathan. His voice came out thinner now. There must have been some confusion. I used them to meet with a prospective investor for Horizon. High-value contact. Martin didn't blink. Name. Silence. Nathan's mouth opened. Closed. Then again. Nothing. Martin leaned forward, each word a bullet. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like someone intercepted a personal gift and used it for personal gain. Which, in most companies, would be grounds for disciplinary action, if not termination. Vanessa's eyes narrowed like knives. Nathan. Is that true? More silence. More sweat. And Ivy. She just sat there. Calm. Steady. Watching. The bait had been taken. The trap had closed. And Nathan Sterling, former king of the floor, had nowhere left to run. Nathan's silence was all the confirmation they needed. Vanessa didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her tone was calm. Clinical. Deadly. Nathan, she said, setting her tablet down, you violated multiple sections of our ethics policy and misused company-related assets for personal benefit. He opened his mouth, one last attempt bubbling beneath his breath. She didn't let him speak. You'll collect your things and be escorted out. Effective immediately. He froze. Color drained from his face. But no one moved to defend him. And in the space where his charm used to be, there was only silence. Martin turned to Ivy, eyes warm this time. I no longer wish to deal with Nathan. If Horizon wants to keep my account, it will be under your leadership. Period. Vanessa nodded, already 2 steps ahead. Ivy, I'd like to propose a promotion. Senior Account Director. Full autonomy. Ivy blinked. Then smiled, steady, gracious, sharp. I'd be honored. As Nathan stood up, ashen, defeated, Ivy didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She had already won. Weeks passed. Ivy found her rhythm in the new role, more responsibility, more control, more late nights that actually meant something. Then one afternoon, her phone rang. Unknown number. But the voice. Unmistakable. Ivy, it's Martin. Quick question, would you ever consider working for me directly? I'd double your salary. She paused only long enough to smile. Send the contract. I think I'm ready for something better. The next morning, Ivy walked out of Horizon Strategies for the last time. No drama. No fireworks. Just quiet glances from stunned co-workers and a few whispered, that's the woman who took down Nathan Sterling. By noon, the news had made its rounds. Nathan Sterling, terminated. Ivy Quinn, untouchable. She stepped into the back of a black town car, smoothed her blazer, and checked her reflection. Then she laughed to herself, shaking her head. Try to play me. Good luck. 1 year later. She stood by the window of her corner office, high above the city. CEO. Her name on the door. Her vision on the wall. Her people in the room. She'd come a long way from quietly swallowing injustice. Now, she didn't swallow anything. She served it, cold, calculated, and always deserved. And as she looked out over the skyline, she knew. She didn't just win. She rewrote the rules. The greedy always think they're invincible, until they slip on the very power they tried to steal. And the quiet ones. The overlooked. The underestimated. They are not weak. They are watching. They are calculating. And when the moment is right, they strike with precision. Never underestimate the person you think is beneath you. Because sometimes, the one you dismiss is the one who ends your reign.